And I will want to, if anybody's on this call, one or two persons will want to introduce yourself before we start. Before we go on, if you're on this call, if you'd like to introduce yourself, please let's do that. Anuluapo, Adedolapo, Sidika, please feel free to unmute your mic and introduce yourself in about 1 minute, please. Thank you. Hello. Okay, maybe we'll come back to that if people are shy to introduce themselves. Okay, so let's I don't know, just not waste so much of our time. Let's just without wasting time. Let's go into the deal of the day. Now, I understand that. So, can you briefly share your personal patent journey with us? And what does it even mean to even have a patent to your name? And what significance is patenting? What does it really actually mean?
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for having me. Once again, my name is Cletus Ajibade. Just like Tosin mentioned, I also, yeah, thank you. I also finished from Ladoke Akintola University of Technology. That was that's way back, 2012. So I finished 2012 actually. So yeah, thank you for having me. And I think before we start, I should sort of put out a disclaimer that everything I'm going to say here doesn't actually constitute a professional advice, right? So, and just like as I will mention as well, there are professionals in this field. That's what they do, and those are the people who also consulted as well when we started the whole process of getting a patent. That's working with a patent attorney. So my discussion, our talk today is just going to be my perspective, my experience based on the things we did, right? So yeah, so I just wanted to put out that disclaimer. So what is a patent? What does it mean to have a patent to your name? What is the effect of having a patent to your name and all that? I believe patenting should be something that everybody should try to do at some point in time.
Okay.
Patenting is when you are you have a novel idea. You have an idea that you want to show to the world that this idea is unique to you, right? Maybe there is a problem that you've been able to solve at your workplace, or you are in college. There is a problem you solve that is unique to you, that nobody else has actually solved that problem, right? So it is good to actually go out there and file for a patent. So patenting is just you have a unique idea, and then you want the world to know that there is a solution to this problem, and then you begin the process of filing, that patent. Of course, there are different ways, different rules and regulations based on the country where you live. For example, those in Nigeria, there are rules. I really do not know much about the patency system in Nigeria, but what I know is that of the US. At least a few cases that I've seen, and even our own invention as well was conducted in the US. So over here in the US, what you just do is you go to USPTO, which is the United States Patent and Trademark Office, right? And then you file your patents, you pay the fees, and then it becomes public for anybody to search. So basically, that's what patenting is. It's a novel idea. It could even be an idea that other people have solved it, but you have you've refined that problem, right? So no nowadays no idea is sort of unique, right? So you people have developed software, they've created solutions, but there might be one little part of that thing that you think you have a solution to, right? So you can just patent that aspect and put it out there.
Okay, thank you so much. So just to bring clarification to things, so does it mean that patents, does it have, is it boxed? Does it have to be, so you as a developer now, does it have to be code, or can it be method? Can it be framework? Can it be, does it have to, or for scientists, does it have to be lab work? Does it have to be, for those who are not in sciences, for example, an accountant, can it be, or an HR person, can it be a method, or yeah?
Okay, so actually, in the US, there are three types of patents, right? So there is the utility patent, you have the design patent, and then you have the, I think the third one is plant patent. Yes. So there is utility, design, and plant. So utility meaning not necessarily a tangible product, right?
Okay.
So it could be a software product, an HR method, an accounting process, so that is a utility helping people to solve, or it could be the invention could be helping people to solve their own problems, right? If, for example, you are in HR, for example, and there is a problem in that HR pipeline that you've seen that, oh, there's something unique I can do concerning this thing, and nobody else has done it, right? You can file a utility patent because that patent or that product or that invention helps other people to solve their problems. Maybe there's a pain point, that you've observed at work, and then you want to file a patent for that. So such patents are called utility patents. Anything, it could be a software, it could be a technical product, it could be anything. It could be a process, right, that is unique, or that you've discovered a solution to. So you file such a patent as a utility patent. Over here in the US, I don't know what it is called in Nigeria or in Africa, but in the US, like I said, you have utility, you have design, and then you have plant. So for design, you are creating or manufacturing something tangible. You have a mechanical device or an electrical engineer who invented something physical, something that you can attach to something. You can attach to a product or a car or anything. That's a design patent, right? And then we now have plant patent for those in sciences, in biology, things like that. So back to your question, it could be a method, it could be a process, it could be a software product, it could be anything. So at the point of filing, it should now be categorized into either a design patent, a utility patent, or a plant patent. Take, for example, a research scientist or a plant biologist, for example, who discovers something in biology. Definitely that's going to be categorized as plant patent, right?
Okay.
An example I gave, an electrical engineer who invented a product, a tangible product, that could be classified as a design patent. Or a mechanical engineer or an architect, for example, you've built something that nobody has done in the past, and you want to protect your intellectual property. Let's not forget that. So it is based on your intellectual property. You want it protected, you want to trademark it, and when you want it protected, you can patent it and then put it out there in the world. So that is a design patent. But for some of us in the line of software, what would this utility patent, right? So it could be a process, it could be like what we worked on, for example, we came up with an idea to automate it's a part of anesthetic treatment and scheduling and planning, so that is used by doctors, in medical field. So it's a software, it's not a physical product. So that makes it a utility patent. So it could be anything. It could be a method as an accountant. It could be a process that you go through as a research scientist. It could be something discovered in the lab, and then you just go ahead and file a patent for it.
Okay, thank you. So does it mean that if I have an idea, that comes to mind,
Mhm.
or I design it, go to free to design anything, I have a problem statement anyways, and I have an ideal solution for it. Can I go ahead and patent at that point, or do I have to wait till the product is ready?
Oh, okay. No, 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 no. You don't have to wait till the product is ready. But now there are different steps. There are steps to patenting because if you have an idea, how would you know that that idea is unique to you? How are you sure that somebody else has not solved that same problem? So there's something called patent search, right? So if you
Yeah.
have an idea that you want to patent, the first thing you do is, like I said, you can contact, you can work with an attorney, a patent attorney, or you can do everything by yourself if you know how to do it, right? So you go to the body that regulates or that handles all that. Like in the US, for example, it is the USPTO. So in Nigeria or some other African countries, just go to that government body in charge of patenting, and then you do a patent search, right? So your attorney can help you do that if you don't know. Like when we started, for example, we really do not we didn't have any idea about the whole process. So we made use of an attorney who did all that for us. So you would go to the website, and I think Google also has a version of that. I think it's called Google Patent or something. You will go there and search for that idea, right? So you want to make sure that nobody else has worked on that idea, or you have something unique about a part of that idea that you can refine as well. Because in the process of searching, you will discover that there are so many similar ideas, and that will also help you to go back and maybe refine and fine-tune your own idea as well to make it unique. So first and foremost, make sure you carry out a patent search. And once you carry out a patent search and you are sure that your idea is unique, then you can now begin the whole process. So back to your question, you don't have to wait till you have the final product before you file a patent, right? During patenting, there's something called provisional versus non-provisional filing. During provisional filing, we can say it's like you are putting in a placeholder, letting the government know that this idea, I'm still working on this idea. Please put me on the queue. I want to have a patent, pending, for me. So what you do is that you put in the application, the provisional application, you pay the fees and all that, and then you start working on the idea. So they will ask you to submit some documents, drawings, submit some forms, make your payments and all that, and you carry out that whole process. And I think in the US you have like 12 months for you to do that, up to a year, right? So you put in the provisional application, and then after that you now begin the non-provisional. That means you are now ready, you have all the documents required, you are now ready to put in the non-provisional application, which now leads to the actual patent. So that's why when you see some people's bio, you see patent pending for an idea. Patent pending means that they filed the provisional application, right? So it has not been published or released by the USPTO, by USPTO. So it is still pending, and then you can, during that whole process or that whole timeline, you can start working on the idea until you release it. And again, you don't even have to have a complete product for the patent to be filed eventually. What you just needed is the idea, the novelty of the idea. That's what you are patenting. And later on, you can now start releasing an actual product for it.
Oh, that's good. That's good clarity to that question. Because I always think that, oh, maybe I need to get through the process, have everything fleshed out, have everything figured out.
No,
Uh,
you don't have to. What you need is just the idea. Once you have the idea, begin the process, because again, you don't want to wait, right? Because you don't know who is
who's
also
thinking about this?
exactly that same idea. I watched something recently. A big tech company in the US just released a product that some of us had an idea about in the past, and for some reason we couldn't really finish the product, and then we just saw recently like big tech company has launched the same idea, and and it's now a product out there. So you don't want to wait, you don't want to delay the whole process. Once you have an idea, contact an attorney who can help you kickstart the whole process, and then you begin the filing.
Right. Thank you so much for that. I still have a lot of questions to ask anyway. So with this understanding, it means that actually anybody can. So what sort of knowledge level do we have to be? We have to be an expert, because everybody thinks sometimes we have solutions to. We have an imaginary solutions to some things, but we don't even know how to. I know that in Nigeria there is IPTO, that's Intellectual Property and Trademark Office.
Okay.
And we don't even know because some people work on. I mean, they did masters, they did some research which are novel, but they don't even know how to make sense of it. Some just have an idea, and we don't, because we don't have PhD yet. So we think that my innovation be considered. Like it has to be. For example, I was looking at I think okay, I'll come back to that. Is on immigration. So immigration criteria, which is I think O1 and EB1. They will say contribution of a significant contribution in the field. I don't know. Are you still here?
Yeah, yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so you say is original contribution or something of significant contribution, something like that. And it seems like, and I think the category of that even is 18. And I'm not sure we've gone to that level of research. So just what's the level of expertise that one needs before one can even one can be ready to put out a patent? Is there any academic or some sort of other achievement that is needed, maybe level of years of experience or whatever?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. So it not necessarily actually. I think it's just based on the novelty of your idea. You don't have to be an expert in one area. You don't have to be one seasoned professor. You don't have to be one seasoned inventor. Back in those days when we studied, there was a course like that we did in LAUTECH. It was handled by chemical engineering. It's on patenting and all that. In those days we thought that invention is something so big, so huge. Anything, once you hear the word
invention, yeah, it has to be get her.
So once you hear the word, that guy's an inventor, that man is an inventor, he has invented this, invented that. Immediately you are thinking about those big things. Oh, a helicopter or one big thing. No, it doesn't have to be that actually. Somebody in college can file a patent. Somebody in university, a student can file a patent. There is no age limit, right?
Wow.
At least for in terms of the US PTO here. So there is no age limit. You don't have to have one superpower. You don't have to be Einstein. You don't have to have discovered one formula. You don't have to have invented something so big and so huge. Just that small idea that you have, right? Just go ahead, search for a similar idea. Go to the patent office of your country and do a patent search. Has anybody solved this problem? And of course, you want to make sure that your idea you're working on is something useful, right? It's something, like I said, it's a novel idea. It's something useful, something that nobody else has worked on. Because again, there's something called patent examination, right? Once you file a patent, there are experts who will go through, who will examine what you've submitted, and now determine whether that product or that idea is patentable or not. So you want to make sure that whatever you are working on is something that is patentable. And how will you even know that without searching, without even applying, right? So you could go through phases of rejections and reviews and all that, just so that you're able to fine-tune the idea to the level that makes it patentable. So back to your question, it doesn't have to be one big invention or one, you don't have to, you don't have to have 20 years of experience in the field. Once it could be, a student in a lab, conducting research, and then you discover the solution to maybe a problem that people have been trying to solve. And then you work with the supervisor and say, hey, please, let's see how we can quickly patent this idea. So yeah, you don't have to have 10 years of experience or 20 years of experience. In fact, you don't even need a PhD to be an inventor. You don't need a PhD. You do not need any publication at all to be an inventor, right?
Really?
You don't need any peer-reviewed publication on all the top journals out there. You don't need all that for you to be an inventor. What you just need is the novelty of your idea, how useful the idea is, and then is the idea unique to you. That means nobody else has worked on the idea. Just go ahead and file and begin the process. If it is patentable, you will know. They will let you know. If it is not, then they will reject your application. That's the worst thing that could happen. So you don't have to be one 50-year-old professor in the business for you to do carry out an invention.
Thank you. Because coming to mind when we're in school, so Professor Ayen, who happens to be our professor then in mathematics, he said he had an innovation in Earth. He discovered. I mean, he created a method to solving using calculus to do something. All of us were like, this is for. He's a professor, so before I can say I made, and Professor Ayen and Professor Loke.
Yeah.
Loke, we cannot get to this. Thank you so much. That's a good clarity to that. So like I was mentioning before as it relates to immigration.
Okay.
So I would also want to touch on that. I know that there are some visa category. So focusing on US now, US as a case study. I know it's similar to what we have in UK, global talent visa, and the likes. But some of the criteria like 01, 01, like EB, either EB1, NIW, or EB, NIW.
There's EB2.
Yeah, yes. I know that some of the, so I mean, at the top of my head, I can remember that EB1A has, I think, 10 categories, and you have to meet 3, if I'm right. Yeah, and I think one of the 3, one of them should be that you have original contribution, something original. You have scholarly article, everything since Einstein. And going through the process of patenting, how long does it take to patent?
Okay. Yeah, so in the US, like I said, there is the provisional stage and the non-provisional, right? So in the US, the provisional stage is up to 12 months, which means you have 12 months to file a pending patent. That means you have an invention whose patent is pending, and it's also a way to say, for example, you have an opportunity you want to apply to, and you believe that having a patent will actually support that case, or boost your chances of being accepted into a program or something. So you can quickly put in the provisional filing or application, and then you have it ready. It's like having a what is it now? a placeholder for a patent, right? So whoever sees it knows that, oh, this person has a novel idea and the patent is already pending, right? It's pending. So yeah, back to your question, like you said, when it comes to immigration, especially in the US, they want to know what you can contribute to the economy. They want to know how you can be a resource person, how you can contribute to the society. They want to know whether you'll be able to employ the citizens of the country. They want to know whether your idea or the past experiences you've had will be beneficial to the country. So those are the things they look out for. When I also started the process, because I did EB2 NIW, it was one of the things I used as well, because they want to know whether what you worked on, okay, you claim to be a software engineer, for example, how have you led people, what products have you built, what events, what leadership roles have you assumed, what have you contributed to the field that you are working in, my case, for example, as a software engineer, what are the things have you done in the past that will be beneficial to the United States, right? Always take note. You are trying to prove your case, letting them know that you are an asset to the country. You're not just here to be a pain, to the system, but you are here to contribute based on your experiences, based on your inventions, based on the things you've done in the past. So those are the things that they will use to judge your case. So, and of course, what more can you use to prove that, if not a patent, a patent application? Of course, there are different, just like you mentioned, there are different, documentations you can submit to actually show that you are who you are. You can contribute meaningfully to the society, and one of those is a patent application. So when I began my process, the EB2 NIW process, I reached out to my attorney, and he gave me a document that I could. I mean, the patent attorney now, because I also work with an immigration attorney. So so there's an immigration attorney who is working, who helps you do all the immigration, documentation, filing, and all that. And then I also work with a patent attorney who handled anything patent, right? So when I started the NIW process, the EB2 NIW process, I reached out to my patent attorney. He provided some documentations for me that I submitted to the immigration attorney, who then used that alongside other documentations that, for example, the conferences I've attended, the products I've built, the startups I've worked on, the impact it had, back, where the startup was founded. All those documentations were the things I submitted to the attorney to complete the filing process. And that's why documentation is very, very important. Very, very important. Anything you are doing now, make sure you're having documentations for all of them. For example, you could be working in a lab, when you're leaving that lab, maybe you are graduating from school, tell your supervisor, let them know that in the nearest future you'll be coming back, or you'll be needing a letter of recommendation from them. You'll be needing a document that proves that you've actually worked in this lab, and these are the things I did in the lab and my impact in the lab. Maybe you are working in an office, for example, have that's cordial relationship with your manager, because later in the future you will still need them. You'll come back to them. They are the ones that will recommend or vouch for you. They are the ones that will tell, based on their writing now, let the body know that, oh, this person, is who they say they are. This person can do this, can do that. I've worked with them in the past, and these are the impact, based on the work they did with us in the past. So make sure you build that relationship wherever you find yourself right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you need all those documentations to prove that you are who you are and you want to contribute to the economy or the country. Talking about the US.
So we are not, we don't burn bridges while you are moving.
Exactly. Don't burn
Don't-
bridges. You are still going to, in fact, when you're applying to colleges, applying to schools for your master's and PhD, you need somebody to recommend you. So you go back to those people to write your letter of recommendation. So yeah, you need them in all those, even in patenting and different aspects of life.
Wow. So that's a lesson for everybody. Like as you are moving on, getting one, don't say, oh, I've forgotten these ones, they are shitty, and just leave anyhow. Thank you so much for that. I mean, we were not even trying to talk about immigration, but somehow we'll delve into immigration, and I think that's very useful for anybody who is considering to contribute significantly. Because personally, I think everybody at every point in time should try out something that seems bigger than them. So something that seems unattainable. I mean, that's what push. That's the. If you are too, so I try to look for something that is great, and try to attain it. Even if you don't need it, even if you don't need it in the future, just try to attain it. Just try to fight for it. Yeah, and it makes us get better and better. I think I've covered most of the questions I've got, and I just want to step back a bit to understand, because I'm not sure either those on this call right now or those who will be watching this afternoon, many of them might not be a scientist. They might not be, like I mentioned, they might be HR, they might be Yoruba teacher, they might be mathematician, they might be UI UX designer, who might be graphic designer, and who might be thinking, oh, maybe an agriculturist, a farmer, who might be thinking, oh, how do I patent? Is it so? Trademarking. I want us to clarify a few things. Trademarking, patenting, and trademarking, patenting. Anyway, let me use that. So that's the only two that I can remember right now. In other intellectual property, anyways.
Yeah.
Does trademarking has lesser value to patenting? And in case patent is not, maybe due to very different reasons, is not achievable at that point in time, and trademark seems to be easier to get. For example, in Nigeria, it seems like trademarking takes about a few months. It depends on the year you are, the month. I think they sign that twice in a year. So it depends on the months that you put in there. It might get it in 1 week, might get it in 2 days. But patenting takes time. So in case it takes time, is the trademarking is it a substitute? And what's the looking at it?
Okay. So I think it's really not a substitute, right? You can trademark a product or an idea. You can also have a patent for it. So from my understanding, again, I'm not an expert in this. I believe trademark has to do with business, right? You have a product or an idea, and then you want to make sure that no other person can use your likeness. Let's say you have a name, you can trademark a business name, you can trademark the idea, you can trademark, anything that you want to do business with, and you don't want another person to start using that same thing. Let's take what business name can we think of now? Let's take Flutterwave or Paystack, for example. So I believe Paystack or Flutterwave already they've trademarked that name such that no other person would rise up tomorrow and say we have a product called Flutterwave, right? We have a product called Paystack, right? So it could be like that's in Nigeria, in the Nigerian context now. Yeah. Another person could use Paystack, somewhere in the Caribbean or somewhere. So that's why international law also comes in, because you may want to go beyond just the patenting or protecting your invention within your country. You want to go beyond all that and then protect that thing internationally. But if you just want to maybe limit what you are doing within your country, that's perfectly okay. But back to trademark again, you have a product, you have an idea, you want to make sure that nobody else can use that same name or that same idea to make money, to do business or to trade with that particular idea, right? So if you have a business name, you quickly trademark it. There's also copyright and all that. You trademark it, you make sure that no other person can use it. Remember the name of your business or your idea maybe totally, well, not totally, maybe a little bit different from the idea or the name you are trademarking. For example, your business name could be Flutterwave Nigeria Limited or Paystack Technologies Nigeria Limited, right? Another person's business name could be Paystack Systems Nigeria Limited. It is allowed. It is permissible. But the word Paystack, if the other person trademarks Paystack and now start using paystack.com as their domain name, and they are branding their business as paystack.com, then you have no right to use that same name for your own branding. You have to rebrand your idea or your business. That's why trademarking is very, very important. Once you have a business idea or a trade idea, quickly make sure you have a trademark for those things that other people could copy, especially if you have unique names. I have unlimited code, for example. I have MTN, for example. You quickly trademark it so that no other person can use that same name to do business. So that's my little understanding about trademarking, which doesn't really mean that it is lesser when you're comparing it to patenting. Patenting is you have a novel idea that you want to patent, you want to protect, so that no other person can say or can lay claim to that idea. It's a little bit different from patenting a trademark, trademarking your business name or trademarking an idea or a brand that you don't want other people to to copy.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So while you were talking, it came to my mind like trademark. So it's like you mentioned, it's trade. It's mark for trade. Thank you so much. So I think lastly, unless you have any question from those who are joining us, who are on the call right now. So I know you've mentioned it, but I just want you to kind of broaden it or add to it. I'm a teacher.
Okay.
And I have an idea, but my idea is subjective anyways. Like in comparison, like I mentioned, like before, looking at Oloke, looking at Ayeni, looking at them like that. Or like Ayeni said, he developed a vaccine during COVID-19 period, and it was patented. But I don't have a lab. I'm just a teacher. But I have an idea or a framework, a method to curriculum design or instructional design that I think it's novel. Is it? So since and though I've not searched anyway, is it possible to patent that idea, and can that idea be in a par with what anybody like Oloke has kind of patent he has, or do I have a lesser patent than him or whatever?
No. So it depends on the complexity of the idea, right? That is why when it comes to patenting, like I said, we have utility patents, you have design, and you have plant, right? Now, within the utility patent, you could have a very complex system that you've developed. In fact, when you're filing, I think we'll talk about the cost. When you're filing a utility patent, for a simple idea, the cost is really not that expensive. I mean, government filing fees now. But there are some other ideas that, it could be thousands of dollars just to file with the government, right? But a simple idea that I think that I think is patentable could be as little as maybe $150, $140 as the filing fee, the initial filing fee, right? So that just shows that there is a level to the complexity of what you can patent. So if somebody else has developed something so complex, so big and so huge, definitely is going to carry more weight, than a simple idea. But that doesn't mean that those two are not patents. Something similar, something small could be as a utility that is used by business. But why something complex will be something that is used by one automotive manufacturing method, for maybe you discover something that can make electric vehicles to move thousands and thousands of miles without the battery degrading and all that. That's the complexity of that particular patent. But a patent is a patent anywhere in the world. It means that you've shown novelty, you've shown that you have the capacity to build or to innovate, to think about ideas and to be able to patent. So whether somebody is a classroom teacher and you've discovered a way to build a curriculum that will help the nation, the educational system of the country, go ahead and patent it. You don't look at, say, an inventor who has had 20 years of experience inventing mechanical devices or inventing things that can make us go to the moon. You don't compare yourself with those people. That little idea that you have, you just go ahead and patent it. It's still worth all the effort.
Yeah, thank you once again. So I have this one just came in. Can I patent an idea in Nigeria and apply for opportunity in US and UK with the same?
Oh, definitely. Like I said the other time, when I was applying when I started the whole NIW EB2 process, most of the things that I used, most of the documentations I provided were the things I did back in Nigeria, right? So they just want to know that you have what it takes to thrive in that industry or in that field, right? So going back to that question, yes, you can patent something in Nigeria or anywhere you find yourself and use that whole documentation to apply for anything in the US or in the UK. So in fact, you are showing that, you are telling them that you are an expert in this field. These are the things I've achieved in this field, and my coming to your country will be beneficial to you because I can do the same in your country. So an attorney who will be reviewing, or the examiner who will be reviewing your document, will know that, oh, if this person has done this where they're coming from, most likely they can do the same thing in our country. And that's what they're looking for. They want to make sure that whoever is coming into the country is somebody who can support the system, create jobs, lead people, and that will be beneficial to the economy. It will boost the economy and all that. You take US, for example, is a country of immigrants. So you have expats from different parts of the world, Chinese, Indians, Africans, coming together to build the economy. Just assume that those people are not here in the US. The US won't be what it is today, right? So you need such experts to come. And that's why they have categories of visas. They call one O1, they call some H1B. They want to bring those experts into the country to build and to help the economy. So whatever it is you've done in the past in your home country, have documentations for them. And just like we said, don't burn bridges. You see, go back to your leaders, to your managers, to get recommendations from them to support your case, when you begin, the filing process in that desired country where you're going to.
Wow. This is been very, very, very interesting. Thank you so much for this, for breaking this down to, in fact, the simplest level. Thank you so much. And I appreciate I mean, it's an opportunity that you've gone through this anyways. So we're able to tap from your weight of knowledge and your experience. Thank you for coming to this. So I want to look at those we
Thanks.
have online here. Does anybody have any question for us before we leave? Any question before we leave? Okay. So I want to believe we have no questions. So of course, if anybody needs to reach out, is your DM on Instagram, on LinkedIn? Is it open?
Yes. Anybody can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Okay. So that if we post this later on and people watch it, they can reach out to you. I will attach your LinkedIn page to the post. So anytime I do that, I will. Thank you so much for joining this call. Thank you so much for doing this with us today. I am very, 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 very grateful.
Yeah.
Thank you for the clarity. Thank you for it. In fact, you've oversimplified it and making us to understand that patenting is something reachable, it's something doable, and everybody should aspire to even patent an idea that you have at one point or the other in one's life.
Yeah, I think that's correct. So the thing that actually, I guess, should I call it misconception? Back in those days, we didn't know at all. We're not exposed to the whole idea of patenting and all that. The only exposure we got was what we did, the course we did in school and all that. But I believe by the time we start hearing about this, we're getting exposure and all that. That it's really not a big deal. The first thing is you just have the idea first, and then don't try to belittle the idea that you have, any idea you have. So whatever it is, just do the search and then work with an attorney and then begin the process. Like I said, depending on your country, it could take a while for it to be finally approved and released. I remember, I think ours was like about 3 years for it to be released.
3 years.
Yes, it took. Yeah, of course. A lot of people are applying, right? And again, government processes, take time, right? So many people are filing applications. So they are working on those applications. So it's when it gets to your turn that they work on your application, right? So, like I said, the provisional filing application takes about 12 months. So for you to fine-tune your idea, have a pending patent and all that, and then there's now all the back and forth, submit this, pay for this, submit that, pay for that, and all that. So at the end of the day, I think it took like a little bit close to 3 years for the patent to be approved.
Wow. On the cost side, you said 150 for the initial file is about 150 to 140. 150.
Yeah, I think it's actually 140 or thereabout. In fact, you can Google all this. Just go to uspto.com or just Google it. You see the costs. Yeah, you see the cost. So a utility patent, something not too complex, should be around that range, $150 and all that. And then the attorney filing fee. If you're going to be working with an attorney, then you need to consider, his own filing fee, and then put all that into consideration before you begin the whole process. And the good thing is, in fact, the attorney may not even ask you to pay everything outrightly, right? They could also have payment plans. If, for example, the attorney fee is, say, $3,000, right, or $2,000 to file, to complete the whole process. You could be asked to pay all that instrumentally, maybe 200 today, 300 tomorrow, 500 another day, and before you know it, you've completed the whole payment. And as they are relating with the patent office on your behalf, as they are submitting documentations, there are some fees they will be paying, right? So it depends on your agreement with them. Do you want to give all the money to the attorney
Yeah,
to do all that, or you want to be involved in the government fees as well. So say there's something they need to submit to the government and it's going to cost $200. Do you want the attorney to come to you for you to pay that money, or you want him to pay that money on your behalf? So those are the the agreements you need to come to at the point of hiring an attorney to work with.
Wow. That's very rich. And I think it's the same for anyone in Nigeria also. I think, yeah, for you to nowadays there are so many. Of course, I think personally I've seen some either startup lawyers or intellectual property lawyers in Nigeria who are doing whose forte is that. So that's their focus. That's what they do. Currently. Yeah. Thank you so much once again for this. Thank you for honoring this, to honoring us for this conversation. I know you are in the middle of so many things for unlimited code. I think you said today will be the grand finale. Or...
Oh yeah, so we had the first cohort. So we finished the first cohort. We were supposed to start the second cohort last month, but we had to shift it. So yeah, very soon we'll begin the second cohort of the boot camp. Yeah.
Okay. So if anybody is on this call who is interested in coding, learning something, maybe software, learning how to code from the beginning, it should be an opportunity. So just check up Unlimited Code.
Yes, unlimitedcode.io. That's the name of the that's the URL. Unlimitedcode.io.
So unlimitedcode.io.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. And I think we'll be drawing the curtain here. And I want to say thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining.
Yeah,
thank you for
I really appreciate the opportunity to share the little I know with your community.
Thank you so much. We don't take this for granted. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, thank you. I know I can see Anu is clapping.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anu.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, take care. Yeah, take care.
Bye.